Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another day of IRMI Annual Conference 2021. My name is Deepanita. I work as a grants lead at India Alliance. And today I will be hosting this session on building and managing partnerships. I hope you are enjoying the conference, and I'm sure you will be enjoying the rest 2 days that we have. To start with, let me give a little, introduction about how this session will be run. So this is a 2-hour session running from now till 1 o'clock. So we will have 3 parts in this session. First will be talks. These are a little bigger talks, 15 minutes talks by Dr. Naresh Sharma and Atulya. After that, we will have small talks in lieu of the poster session. These will be 3 talks. And after that, we will have a panel discussion of 1 hour total. So this is the entire structure of this session. So to start with, let me go to the first part of it. And in the building and managing partnerships, who else can be better to talk about than Dr. Naresh Sharma. So Dr. Naresh Sharma is head of international relations in ISER Pune, and he is the principal technical officer there, working closely with the Dean of International Relations and Outreach in developing and managing international partnerships for ISER Pune. His role spans liaising with stakeholders to coordinate partnership-related activities, administrative management of student and faculty exchanges, coordinating delegation visits from international organizations. And Naresh will be talking about building sustainable partnerships, experiences from a young institution. So we will hear Naresh's talk, but let me also introduce the second speaker because we will have both talks back to back. So the second speaker that we have today is Atulya Arvind. So Dr. Atulya Arvind is a Senior Partnerships Advisor India from King's College London. Atulya has been working as an Indian higher education specialist, managing international collaborations since past 8 years. She has a PhD in bio-nanoscience and is very passionate in managing international academia and research partnerships. Currently, she represents King's College London, Global Engagement in India. She is responsible for partnership development and engagements in India as part of King's India strategy. Previously, she has also worked at IIT Delhi and at NCBS. She will be talking about international research and education sector, the role of human bridges. So with this, can we have the videos, please? The 2 talks that we have lined up today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start with first applauding IRMI and the organizers for their efforts to provide a platform to the research managers. It is a great opportunity for all of us to come together and share our experiences and network. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts at this platform. I will be sharing my journey at ISER Pune in developing international research partnerships. So if we talk about international research collaborations, the best metrics for this has always been to look at the co-authored papers, where we see how people have collaborated together across the globe and published together. So the European Parliamentary think tank had brought out a report sometime in 2019, where using the Web of Science, they indexed how many co-authored papers were there over the past history. The way we see it at the end of the Cold War, sometime in 1990, after that, the scientists across the globe have started really collaborating in a much larger scale. And these days, almost every 4th paper being published is co-authored by the different groups across the globe. international research collaboration is becoming a core of the contemporary higher education and science systems in all organizations. Now, how does India stand on in the terms of global collaboration network? So Indian institutions and scientists, they are also vigorously collaborating abroad as well as within the country. Nature Index in 2015 published a small report on this. And as we see over here, the Indian scientists, they strongly collaborate with America, Germany, UK, France, and other countries across. Uh, Also, in terms of collaborating within the country or abroad, predominantly Indian scientists tend to collaborate more abroad than within the country itself. Now, there can be explanations for this in terms that we do go abroad for our higher education and training post PhD, for our postdoctoral training, and we develop partnerships over there which we maintain once we come back to the country and all. For the Indian institutions and organizations, the international research collaborations are very context driven, depending upon the technologies, depending upon the research areas they are dominating in, the education and all. Those will be the different driving factors which promote and motivate them to collaborate with different stakeholders. The strategy that we follow at ISA Pune with respect to international collaborations is basically a three-pronged approach where we look at the research, which is our main bread and butter. So any activity that promotes and strengthens and develop the research activity, and that collaboration is always looked favorably. Also, in terms with that, teaching is an integral part of the mandate. Globalization of the curriculum, where we can share courses, we can share and have teachers exchanges and all, is strongly promoted, and also the cultural aspects of it. Now, I'll share some of my stories with respect to how we developed over the past years in terms of strengthening the international collaborations. I joined ISA Pune in 2012 July, and at that time point I was sort of taking care of various activities on my plate. Internationalization was not one of them. However, in 2014, Göttingen University approached us and said that would we be partnering on one of the international proposal that they were putting in, that was networking and mobility actions for sustainable technology and environment in India, Namaste, shortly. So it was a Erasmus Mundus Section 2 program. We happily agreed to be part of it as a joint coordinator, and that's when this project got successful. I attended a coordinators meeting in Brussels, and it lighted upon me that international activities in ISA Pune were very ad hoc, very decentralized, and it would really help us to make great progress if we centralize that and establish a international research office over there, international relations office. And that's when, with the permission from then director Professor Ganesh and Shashidhara, that we put in a proposal with DAD funded program for setting up international relations office over there. Since I had no background at that time point, that was a very good training opportunity for me. With the help of Leibniz University Hanover, who was the coordinator for that training program, we set up a international relations office at ISA Pune. The MOU, if we look at with Göttingen, was signed sometime in March 2020, before I had joined. And till that time point, till 2014, the activities that were happening was more of student exchanges who were funded via DAD to carry out short-term research projects at Göttingen. There were faculty interactions taking place, which helped in sort of exploring what potential research collaborations can take place. After we took over and after we participated on this Erasmus Mundus Section 2 program, various other collaborative activities were also undertaken. For example, BMBF funded Göttingen Pune Outreach Center. This was Ministry of Education funded program where we had set up a outreach center at ISA Pune. A representative from Göttingen University was based at the office in ISA Pune, and we used to conduct outreach activities, exhibitions, or any faculty member visiting India from Göttingen would also pass through IISER Pune and deliver a lecture or interact with our faculty or the students. The idea was to promote more and more interaction between the faculty members, showcase IISER Pune and its infrastructure to the labs in Göttingen or abroad. Then other mobility and funding opportunities through Erasmus Plus, like the Key Action 102, which provided funds for staff exchanges, for faculty exchanges, and also student mobility. They were undertaken and we were successful in getting that funds, and that helped quite a lot in staff exchanges where international office staff could go and attend training weeks at Göttingen. And similarly, faculty members could travel, and there was bilateral exchanges. There were faculty members visiting IISER from University of Göttingen and vice versa. Then DAAD and Ministry of Education funded New Passage to India. Under that, again, another project we got funded from 2019 to 23, which is going on. Due to Corona, a lot of mobilities have been now converted into more like a virtual stage where we can have interaction between the students. Some of the courses or workshop have been, instead of the physical exchanges, virtual exchanges have been taken over, so that the partnership and the activities can go on, if not in the same strength as in absence of Corona it would have happened. And these different funds have provided platform to strengthen the partnership between Göttingen and IISER Pune, even though we do not have the critical research collaboration actively happening, but that interaction is building the foundation for the future. Another great strategic partnership we have is with the University of Glasgow. Similarly, the MOU with Glasgow was signed in the early days 2010, and the activities that had taken place at that time point were pedagogy workshop at IISER Pune, when a couple of faculty members from the School of Education Glasgow had visited IISER, and they conducted pedagogy and teacher training workshops at IISER. And similarly, faculty members from IISER Pune had visited Glasgow to observe the undergraduate teaching and also explore the research collaboration over there. This MOU came up for renewal in March 2015 when I had taken over and I was coordinating the activities for international partnerships. So with Glasgow, we had identified that to make it much more sustainable and more strong, we need to figure out and promote research collaborations. There were some activities in physics and chemistry department which have now really grown with leaps and bounds. There have been co-publications from these departments with Glasgow. The bilateral student exchanges, again, we had students from IISER visiting Glasgow for short-term research project, but we had not seen students coming from Glasgow to IISER Pune to carry out their research projects with us. So that these points were flagged out during the time of renewal. And then with the Erasmus Plus funding, which we got in 2018. So we had received funding in 2018, and then there were bilateral exchanges. 4 students from Glasgow had visited, spent a year, almost 2 semesters carrying out research in different labs in the institute. And similarly, there had been non-academic, the International Relation Office staff. They visited for a week bilaterally again for undergoing staff training, understanding the processes at each other's institute of how the day-to-day activities within the office are conducted over there. As well as there had been faculty exchanges to develop further research collaborations in chemistry, in chemical biology. We organized a joint symposia in Glasgow, and most of these activities were funded from the Erasmus Plus funding that we had secured. The MOU has been again renewed for next 5 years in March 2020, and we are looking to expand these activities and collaborations across maybe into teacher training program and education program. Those are being discussed now, and we see how we can develop a more holistic and strategic partnership with Glasgow. With France, we already had a couple of existing research collaborations with different groups in different institutes. The scientific research ecosystem in France is little different from what we have seen in many other countries. CNRS is very similar to, in some aspects, to our CSIR organization, where labs are funded, the scientists are funded by the CNRS, but they can be affiliated to and working with different universities or standalone institutions across. They have their own dedicated CNRS research labs as well. So with French embassy, before I had taken over, there was an agreement in terms for the French language tutor program, where French embassy selects a French tutor, and this tutor spends almost full academic year in the institute, teaching and taking classes for the students or anybody who is interested in learning French language. And that has been going on with us over the periods. There had been 1 or 2 years when we had not activated this program, but depending, it's a agreement that is reactivated every year, and then we take in. So with CNRS in November 2015, we had signed the agreement when Shashidhara and myself, we had visited France to visit ENS Lyon as well as CNRS in Paris, and discussing the potential collaborations and how we can work together. So CNRS also funds initiating or promoting and developing research collaborations. Dr. Sudha Rajamani, she applied for CNRS funding, which they call as PICS, where it is funded for 3 years as the travel money, so that the partners can visit each other's lab, they can hold symposia, they can hold workshops, the students can travel, and they can develop projects for further funding with them. So under Origin of Life, Dr. Sudha Rajamani, she got the joint funding from CNRS. And slowly over the years, we have been now able to develop ISER Pune and CNRS joint research program, where we had called in projects for co-funding. CNRS puts in and funds a PhD student on the French side, and ISER Pune puts in the funds for the PhD student registered on ISER Pune side to travel and spend almost a month at least every year during the PhD in the collaborators lab in France. So Dr. Chaitanya Atle and Dr. Mary Delattre from ENS Lyon, they are being funded. Dr. Srijit Jije and Dr. Fabien Allet from Toulouse, they have been also funded under this scheme. And so it's going on well. They have already published one paper each from both the groups on this co-funded partnership. So with ENS Lyon, the first, we visited ENS Lyon in 2015 November, at the same time when we visited CNRS. The MOU was signed sometime in January 2016 as a follow-up of the visit. The most of the activities that do take place are bilateral student exchanges, where we also host students from Lyon and vice versa. There have been faculty exchanges for teaching. Dr. Pradeep and Professor Hans Hesserot, they had visited from ENS Lyon to take courses at ISER Pune. And similarly, Professor Shashidhara from ISER Pune had visited ENS Lyon to take courses over there. And now Amrita and Jens, they are doing chemical biology courses in a virtual faculty exchange mode. So this semester, Amrita will be taking courses in January at Lyon, and Jens will be taking courses at ISER Pune through the online teaching mode. And then there are a couple of CEFIPRA projects for supporting the research collaborations between the groups on both organizations. Based on these activities as well, the other ENS like ENS Paris, Paris Saclay, ENS Rennes, and all, they came together in September 2017. All the directors of 4 existing old ICERs, they visited France to visit all these ENS institutions over there. And then a network level agreement was signed in March 2018. Currently, we are supporting the bilateral student and staff exchanges, and also the virtual faculty exchanges for teaching across the network with ENS group of organizations in France. So basically what we have learned over the years with our experience with these, some of the partnerships that we have, to make them sustainable and successful, I think we have to first understand that no relationship develop and takes off immediately running within a short period of time. Any partnership will take some time to develop to reach a stage where we can really, it can become sustainable to drive itself on its own rather than every time hand holding each and every aspect of it. And also we have to understand each other's culture, the goals, to ensure that there is compatibility between the thought process and what goals we want to achieve as partners, as a group together. And obviously the opportunities change, the times change, there would be change in governance, there would be change in leadership. So the partnerships have to be flexible enough to survive these changes. And I think the stakeholders have always to work together so that they can address what changes are required, how they can respond to these the changes in the environment, in the ecosystem, to make it and to respond it much faster, to not to lose the pace or the momentum and keep the growth happening. The alliance of these ideas, the having that common goal together, what we want to achieve as partners, as a group, will strengthen the partnership to survive any kind of a change or any kind of hindrance or a challenge that they may face. And for all of these, the underlying principle that keeps it going and moving is the communication. This bilateral communication between the partners is very, very critical and very important, so that everyone feels included and not left out or taken for granted in any kind of a partnership. Thank you. And feel free to contact us at any time, and we will be happy if whatever way we can contribute and help you, or whatever is required, we are happy to work together. Thanks.
Hello, I am Atulya Aravind, Senior Partnership Advisor for King's College London, based in India. My talk today centers around the role of professional services in partnership building and managing in India. I would like to share my journey in this sector and the lessons and insights I gained from various roles. I have a versatile experience of 8 years managing different portfolios in this sector. My association in international higher education began during my PhD. I was a Japanese government scholarship fellow doing research in bio-nanotechnology at Toyo University in 2012. And later was a bridging postdoc who was based at IIT Delhi for Toyo to coordinate a joint collaborative education and research program in India. And that was my first taster in building and managing partnerships in India. It was a very career-defining experience for me, which prompted me to look for more options like that in India. And at that point of time, there weren't many, but luckily I was able to find one at the Research and Development Office at NCPS. And it was, again, a transition for me from completely doing research to managing, facilitating a multi-institutional, international partnership management for a high-profile cross-country mixed portfolio funding program at NCPS. And it was while I was doing that role at NCPS, I came across this opportunity from one of the top ranking global universities, King's College London, that they were looking to start an in-country presence in India to support and implement their regional strategy in India. Again, that was a new beginning for me. Now almost 3 years in this role, managing and working across the 9 disciplines at King's Pan-India with various Indian partners. It had been a great journey and a great experience. The reason why I was interested in building partnerships, national or international, was the realization of the impact it could bring to the organizations and people involved. And King's vision and strategy explains this impact very beautifully. the vision at King's is to make the world a better place. And there are 5 key strategic priorities which aim to bring this impactful change. Through the highest quality disciplinary research and interdisciplinary collaborations, our students and staff work to develop insights and solutions for the many diverse challenges faced around the globe. And by facilitating various national and global connections, we encourage multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary work, which makes a significant and innovative contribution to the society and to the global community at large. India is one of our strategic regions of engagement. At King's, it is our strategy to engage with every region in the world, key partners across the continent. In India, we engage with strategic partners who share similar institutional objectives in a very equitable and sustainable manner. We identify complementary strengths, establish academic pathways and research exchanges. And sometimes we find extraordinary multidisciplinary research projects which contribute to the SDGs or national priorities, which result often in excellent research outcomes and publications in top journals. The best part of an international experience for me as a student and as a staff was the exposure to a different culture, which helped me to broaden my outlook about life. And that's what we aim at King's to learn from each other, to understand the multicultural facets and diversity of India. We not only aim to bring King's to India, but take India to King's. And at our School of Global Affairs, there is an India Institute, which is a center for multidisciplinary research, teaching public engagement of contemporary India. And the center also contributes to the public understanding of contemporary India. That said, building partnerships in India have not been so easy. There are various challenges, but often having a defined set of processes help to build and manage partnership to make it a successful endeavor. And in all these 4 steps which I've listed out, an international liaison or a human bridge can add great value to make it a successful partnership. Of course, the first step begins with identifying potential synergies and determining the value and impact of such a joint collaboration could bring to both the parties. And then we identify key people to engage in such initiatives through consultations at both ends. And once we have a consensus of the shared objectives, we move to the second stage, the most time-consuming and difficult to navigate stage, which is to identify resources, identify the processes involved, in negotiate agreements for different kinds of programs. At King's, there are various kinds of international engagements, and for each, the partnership model varies. So at this stage, I think a human bridge or an international liaison can be a very crucial role player, because it is very difficult to translate the cultural nuances and sensitivities in a big country like India. And it's not only these difficulties, like one of the most common thing which is overlooked in such cross-country partnership building is that it's not only bureaucratic barriers or financial systems that are different, but there is a big cultural difference component and organizational culture processes which are different at both ends. Hence, a liaison can be a coordinating point. They can help to identify the right people, manage the communications. For example, at King's, we have several external facing teams with defined remits. But in India, most often we have seen that it is one person in doing these multiple roles, or sometimes it is an academic who's the coordinating person. So from my experience, what I've understood that having a dedicated person to coordinate and navigate these organizational culture processes and be a key communicating link to coordinate these communication channels, because sometimes, you know, their emails go to the wrong team or wrong people, creating confusions. But having a dedicated person can help to streamline all those things, and they can bring about a more efficient, time-saving, proper management of relationship. A trained person can do this and aid to build the partnership to a huge success. Even in step 3, where once we have our agreements and once programs are collaborative initiatives are implemented, it is essential to remember to keep the communication channels open to ensure that there is smooth running of collaborative initiatives and the sustainability of these partnerships is maintained. And we live in a very dynamic world, which, you know, gives us a new possibility every day. So we believe that it is essential to review the partnership progress regularly to scope what more can be done or how better we can manage the relationship. Like I said, there are various challenging barriers in partnership building in India, but most often the feedback I have received from being an interface for various stakeholders is that like I said, it is very helpful to have somebody to kind of support, to coordinate, follow up, and build these collaborative initiatives, because sometimes it's difficult when you're managing international relationship. The communications get always kind of difficult. So it is sometimes helpful to have a coordinating person to streamline these communications and to save time with channeling various barriers. So that is something which a human bridge can bring into partnership building, both national and international partnerships. And from my various roles of engagement between different countries and different Indian partners, a few things which help me to be an efficient liaison is that one, be patient, because good partnerships take time to grow and develop. And it is always helpful to keep the big picture in mind when things get tough going. And good listening skills always comes handy. And it is important to be having an empathetic mind to understand the coordinating challenges, as well as even with whom you liaise. They might, at that end also, it might be little tough with two different organizational processes, which I mentioned earlier. And most importantly, it is always important to be honest and transparent in your communications, because a human bridge is a representative of their institution's reputation. Hence, I believe a living bridge or an international liaison or a national liaison in building partnerships and managing them is important, because they contribute towards the transformation of organizations. And I conclude here with a hope that the new national education policy opening up India's internationalization at a bigger scale, we would see more opportunities and more manpower in such partnership building roles in India. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the talks. Thank you, Naresh, and thank you, Atulya. Those were very informative talks. We learned from you that building partnerships is not a very brief, straight cut road. It takes time and it takes a lot of patience to build partnerships. Thank you for the good information. And I request attendees to please note the slide that is there coming up now. So these are the social media handles that we are using right now. And I also request you to engage with us on our social media. And, you can use the hashtag IRMIAC 2021 if you are writing anything, posting anything about this conference. Thank you all for being patient listener till now. A few more housekeeping announcements. So if you notice that the session has ended abruptly, please log into the same link again. It may happen due to technical glitch, but if you log into the same link, then you will again come back with us on the same session. And there is a question box. If you have this right side panel bar, there is a questions box. You can enlarge the box and type in your question. During the session, if you have anything, I encourage that you type in your questions. When we have the panel discussion towards the end of the session, we will take up those questions and discuss those slowly. So let me go to the next part of the session. So this will be small talks by 3 speakers, and the 3 speakers we have today are Aradhita Baral from IGIB. We have Arkamitra Vishnu, she is from NCBS, and we also have Dr. Indumati from NCBS again. So these 3 talks will be in lieu of the posters. Aradhita works at IGIB as project scientist, and she's an awardee of the DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance Research Management Fellowship. Arkamitra works at NCBS as a program manager, and she has spent around 15 years in academia, and Arkamitra has now become a research facilitator and joined as the program manager for the DBT Northeast Region Chemical Ecology at NCBS in 2019. She wants to explore science beyond convention. I like that very much, Arkamitra. Indumati is working as a program manager at NCBS, and Indumati is working in the ADBS program there. Previously, she was working as a scientific program manager at Center for Stem Cell Research, Vellore, India, and she has completed a doctoral degree in nanobiotechnology. So the topics of their talks will be this way. Aradhita will be talking about building and managing partnerships during COVID and potential pitfalls. Arkamitra Vishnu will be talking about building the bridge from field to laboratory, chemical ecology of Northeast Region program. And Indumati will be talking about management support for a complex multi-institutional research program. So let us hear them now.
Hi, I'm glad to be here today to be a part of the IRMI Annual Conference, and I appreciate India Alliance and IRMI for its visionary lead in the Indian research management ecosystem. I am Aradhita Baral, and to begin, a brief introduction about myself. After my PhD, I decided to pursue a career in research management or as a science facilitator. I have worked in different capacities in different kinds of organizations and got to understand the requirements of research support from government, industry, and institutional perspective. Currently, I'm working at IGIB, the Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology, as a DBT Wellcome Trust Research Management Fellow. I joined the institute during amidst the pandemic and quickly got very busy. It was like a 24/7 excitement zone in the virtual space. The research, the implementation, the operation, and the infrastructure, everything had to be redefined. The focus of the research has shifted, and the whole institute became abuzz with COVID-related research. IGIB participated in genome-based surveillance. We developed low-cost diagnostics. We did, depending upon the COVID severity, we did transcriptomics and host infection studies. We also delved into AI-based solutions. But all this was possible due to our collaborations with clinics, with industry and other academic partners. COVID changed the way research was being conducted. It became more efficient, more collaborative, and more open. Never before was collaborations being developed with such urgency and with so many people. And all this, like, developing MOUs, defining terms of reference, and building other stuff, everything had to happen in a virtual space. So communication and coordination was very key to all this. COVID research also aroused the need for shared data and shared knowledge. This brought up new trends in data sharing, free access, and usage. And this led to other global collaborations for responsible usage of such freely available data. COVID research would have certain residual impact. When you are in a hurry and doing kinds of research and handling all this, you might encounter some pitfalls. But then you might not. You might take this up as a learning experience. So let me discuss a few such experiences that I have faced. To complete and complement IGIB's genomic capabilities, we needed a clinical partner. We found one, we enacted an MOU with them, and diligently got all the clearances, defined all the terms, and set all the financial things correctly. The people in the researchers at IGIB started collaborating and addressed different aspects of COVID infection. Everything went well till we had to do a financial transaction. It then dawned upon us that this partner had a parent body, and this parent body had many such organizations under its ambit. So any financial transaction or any publication was actually with the parent body and not the institute under it. At this point of time, I was roped in to streamline the process. And we revisited our MOU, we made the amendments, we made further agreements to make the collaboration continue. Another interesting case was that of a bulk international funding that we received. International funds and collaborations itself brings with it a lot of array of new rules and regulations that we have to comply with. In this case, it was an emergency short-term grant, and we had to distribute the money among our sub-partners too, and all the three organizations, that is IGIB and its sub-partners, were jointly responsible for delivering the project. We did maintain some progress reports during this short span of time, but at this juncture, it becomes very important to develop a relation or a confidence with your sub-partner that they have the manpower and the resources to complete the project. At the end of it, when it was time to submit the report and financial statement, we found that one of our partners was not able to use the money given to them at all, although they had done some part of work. Here again, the research management played a crucial role. With a lot of meetings and emails, we were finally able to find out a solution to this. COVID brought us many new experiences. It is important that we embrace this experiential learning and move ahead. A strong research support can retain the dynamism and the output of research. So, we might be called as research managers with supernatural power to make everything going and in a symphony. I would end my presentation here, and I'm open for any contact, and these are my contact details. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Arkamitra Vishnu, and the title of my talk is Building the Bridge from Field to Laboratory Chemical Ecology of in-year Program. I will be talking about my journey to becoming a program manager from academic researcher in a dynamic program called Chemical Ecology. So I started my career as a researcher in the field of molecular evolution, species interaction, and microbial ecology, where I spent almost 12 years in the field as a field researcher, and as well as got trained in the molecular lab techniques. During my postdoctoral research, I spent my time in one of the very prestigious chemical ecology laboratory in the Indian Institute of Science, where I first got introduced to this amazing subject and made a couple of wonderful lab mates as well. I also got introduced a couple of wonderful friends and who kind of introduced me to a world where one person can become a building, a bridge in the world of research and can explore a science in a little bit unconventional way. I ended up joining as a program manager at National Center for Biological Science and met similar people, more amazing people, and they kind of trained me to become that building, that bridging person where I can give back to the scientific community, where you can really explore it in a little bit unconventional way outside the realm of classroom or a laboratory. So talking about the chemical ecology program, it is very similar to my journey, where you have to search your journey in a field, in the ecosystem, to form your question, and eventually you have to end up in a laboratory to answer by using cutting edge tool. The program is a very large one, where two distinct clusters from Northeast and the Bangalore have joined, and a large number of researchers have come together, and it is funded by DBT, and to successfully run this program, a program manager is essentially needed here. And this is my journey where I ended up here being that bridging person to kind of giving it smoothly run, and to conduct it in a that give it a form structure to make the story possible to fill to laboratory. To give a brief program overview of this chemical ecology program, the aim of the program is to look into the biodiversity region of this Northeast, where we try to look into get insight into how every component of the ecosystem talk to each other using the language of the chemical. And there is the background of the program, there is a three major component, being in the first component being in the research, where it's a multidisciplinary approach, and the second component being in the capacity building in the Northeast region, where the research culture and innovation and creativity is the major importance, and of course finally the outreach component, where we try to introduce more young researchers into the program. So what is my role in this program? So major responsibility is coordinating with the researcher and the funding agency, and I part a certain role into every component, starting from the research, where my look into the major part being in the writing of the reports, proposal, popular science articles, publication, and the grants. Of course, I need to monitor a lot of research progress of the students, and most important being the maintaining the budgets and the funds. A lot of effort goes into the capacity building part, where need to conduct of the workshop, coursework, field and the laboratory training, and the lecture series for the students. Outreach component is very important, where we organize couple popular talks, public events, media and broadcasts such as social media or blogs, audiovisual contents, and awareness program for the young researchers, school students, to get insight about the program, and they get to make them excited about the nature and the chemical ecology. So it's been only 1 year, I just being a program manager, and what did I really learn? What is an essential experience? And that I got mostly from the research development office from the RDO, that being into research management, most important thing probably are creating a bridge between every component. And the essential skill sets that I learned is that mostly it's not really something too new that we most of us got learned during our PhD or the postdoc experience. All we need to probably that expand the horizon to be in this business. And people management is so important, and stick to a perfect timeline, and fast decision making, and the analytical skills, and multitaskings. This is very important. Conflict resolution that we have all developed probably in our research career, and we need it in our every step. The challenges that I faced in this program, experience this particular one is probably the communication, since majority of my partners in this program are situated in extreme remote locations of the Northeast. So getting in touch with all the PIs for the data or the students who are stuck in the field, sometimes it's very, very challenging. And the subject knowledge, it's an interdisciplinary program, since I also look into the research components. So getting a knowledge starting from the biochemistry to natural chemistry to neurobiology, it can be sometimes a bit challenging. Looking into that each three components, starting from outreach to capacity and research, handling all three, it's also a bit challenging. But the most challenging part I found as being a program manager, probably understanding the individual need of each stakeholders and address it at the same time, as everybody has a different need, and to understand that and address that. And I'm still learning that and looking forward to more. And I enjoyed every part of being in this 1 years of experience. And I think this is a wonderful choice to being in this field, to my journey that completed from an academic researcher to being a program manager. With that, I want to end my talk here. I want to thank Team RDO. They are with me with every step, and you can follow us chemical ecology programming with this our blog and the Twitter account, and these are the contact details of the author and the co-authors. Thank you very much.
Hi all, I'm Indumati Vedaratnam, a program manager of ADBS at NCBS. My talk is on management support for a complex multi-institutional research program like ADBS. I would like to explain the role of a program manager through my experience in ADBS. ADBS is a large scientific program that seeks to understand the cellular and genetic basic of mental illness in humans. This program is funded by Department of Biotechnology India and Pratiksha Trust, and it involves 3 institutions, NIMHANS, NCBS, and INSTEM. For a multi-institutional program like ADBS, the role of a program manager is like an effective support system, which is very crucial. A good research management support system involves various responsibility. Being a program manager, my prime responsibility would be, with the help of the accounts division, of course, is to monitor the expenditure and ensure proper utilization of funds. I also make sure that we are in a compliances with the statutory committee requirements. Progress report appraisal is a mandatory. Therefore, I collate all the monthly progress report from the principal investigator, and also the most important annual progress report, which has to be submitted to the funding agencies. Apart from this, I also ensure the processing of any other report that has to be processed within the stipulated time. To make sure the process smoother, we do arrange periodic meetings with the investigator to reaffirm the project progress and to address the possible challenges that hinder the progress. Apart from this, I organize other committee meetings and weekly progress meeting for researcher with the principal investigator. A key component of the ADBS program is the establishment of a biorepository with the material including stem cell lines, DNA sample, and its digital data. This material sharing is overseen by the Resource Allocation Committee. We do ensure that the implementation and monitoring of data sharing policies and mechanisms are followed, and also a quarterly report will be submitted to the committee. We fund seed grants for the further research using the resource within the biorepository. The pre and post award stage will be assisted by the program manager. Yes, of course, it's me. And in addition, I coordinate all the human resource activity for the ADBS with the help of the administrative office. We conduct an annual workshop on induced pluripotent stem cell at a national level, and also annual workshop on bioinformatics as applied in brain disorder in collaboration with IBAB Bangalore. In past, we have organized other activities such as training program for setting up biobank cell culture facility at NIMHANS, and manpower training and pilot data generation, which is supported by the ADBS seed grants. We coordinate the CIRA ADBS training program on generation and maintenance of the stem cell organized annually by the ADBS and the Center for IPC Cell Research and Application, Kyoto University, Japan. Having said this, it's quite challenging undertaking all the activities in a stipulated time. The core challenge would be that of a communication management. Most challenging task is to ensure proper communication between the functional unit. Any miscommunication may delay the entire process. Through my experience with ADBS, I have understood the challenges and framed solutions that can be implemented to overcome the issues. I would like to thank IRMI for having provided this opportunity to share my view on role of a program manager. I also thank our funding agencies and collaborator, Sira, and a special thanks to Raghu Pedinjar and Professor Apurva Sarin and previous program manager Atulya Arvind and Ginu Matthew, and also our ADBS team. Thank you.
Thank you to our three speakers, Aradhita, Arkamitra, and Indumati. We enjoyed your talk very much. So it's 11:57 now. Let us have a little break, a small bio break of 5 minutes, and then come back at 12:02 for the panel discussion. Thank you. See you all there. Hello, everyone. I hope you're back. Let us start the panel discussion now. I invite all our panelists today to please come on this virtual stage. I invite Vikram, Tanya, Nori, and Naresh to please turn on your webcams, please.
Hi.
Hi, Vikram.
Good morning. Morning, Vipal.
I have no inspiration here, but all the rest is good.
Hi.
Hi. So we have
Hello.
all four panelists here with us. So let me introduce them first. Vikram is a professor of clinical hematology, Department of Hematology, Christian Medical College Fellow. Works in the area of myeloid malignancies and allogenic stem cell transplantation. After his
Can I have this bigger?
Tanya, we can see you, we can hear you as well.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Yeah. So Vikram has gone to Washington University for his fellowship. And I'm very proud that we have Vikram as our DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance Senior Fellow. Next we have with us is Tanya Fredericks. Tanya is the head of sector for research and innovation at the EU delegation to India. She started her assignment beginning of September 2016, and she has worked in Brussels for the European Commission in the Directorate General on Research and Innovation, Department for International Cooperation, and was responsible for cooperation with the Western Balkan countries and Turkey. She has been working for more than 15 years on EU research and innovation policy. She is a lawyer by training. Very interesting to note that, Tanya. And we are very happy, very privileged to have you with us here today. Thank you. We also have Nori Fumi Miwakawa, who is a senior research administrator at Hiroshima University, and he has been involved in the university's efforts to internationalize its research activities since 2014. His duties include administrative supervision of the university's International Science Communication Fellowship Program and Writing Center, and he supports for the international conferences organized by the faculty members there. He is also engaged in the development of institutional linkages with foreign universities for international research collaboration. Great to have you with us, Nori. Thank you for joining.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, great.
we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Naresh with us. We heard Naresh speaking in the beginning of the session. Hi, Naresh. And Naresh is the head international relations at ISER Pune. So we will have a brief discussion with you all, and I request the attendees to please type in your questions if you have any in the questions box, so that we can pick up your questions as we go along in the discussion. And for your knowledge, we have research administrators mainly present as attendees today. So these research administrators they act as a link between the investigators and the funders, to facilitate research. So let me start with Vikram with close to home questions. So Vikram, these days we are encouraging a lot of collaborative research. Everywhere we hear this a lot. And even in India Alliance also, we have started the Team Science Grants, which actually encourages collaborative research, multidisciplinarity also. So I want to ask you, Vikram, that as a clinician scientist, what is your experience of collaborative research? How easy or difficult it is? How do you see advantage in it, and how the research administrators can play a role in enabling such collaboration?
Right. So I think I'll split that up into two components. One is on collaborations and the other is on research administration. I think collaborations is absolutely critical, but I think the key point is collaborations don't happen spontaneously or in a vacuum. You have to make a lot of effort and on your own, one, and it helps if there is a structure that helps you facilitate interaction, either a platform or a forum where you can meet people, that helps. But I think primarily it boils down to the individuals and your your necessity and feeling that you need to have collaborators. And frankly, if you feel that you don't need collaborators, I think you have a problem, because in reality, all of us benefit from collaborations, and often, I hope I'm not generalizing too much, in India, there's a feeling of wanting to go it alone and a sense of getting scooped, or your ideas and concepts being taken away. The reality actually is that you stand to gain a lot more in collaborations. Yes, once in a way, it's possible that your ideas and concepts may get scooped to some extent, but collaborations will take you much further than you could possibly go alone. And so my general philosophy has been collaborate, collaborate. I do everything possible to collaborate with, and if you see my publications, they involve INSTEM, they involve a number of other Alliance fellows who I meet at these fellowship meetings, because that again is a great platform to meet different people working on kind of similar areas, which in our institutions is difficult. Because the medical and basic science are kind of two different trajectories in India, and so it's often difficult to meet people who are kind of working on similar things. So Welcome India Alliance is an example of a platform where you can meet people, and I'm fortunate to be on that, and some people may not have that opportunity. As far as research administration, we are really in a very nascent phase in India. The recognition of the need for research administrators, one. Frankly, if you ask me, I think it's absolutely critical to have them on a team, because right now, most of us, maybe a few centers, with the exception of a few centers, researchers spend a lot of time running around getting all kinds of legal issues sorted out, funding issues sorted out, accounting issues sorted out, which we neither have the expertise, and neither does the institutional people working within those institutions have those particular expertise. So I think an interface with research administrators would go a long way in helping. Dipanta, please do stop me if I'm long-winded. I tend to sometimes go off the handle a bit. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Vikram. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's really helpful. So can I come to Tanya, to you now? Tanya, I have read about you a lot, and I think you have worked with our Indian government funders, Department of Science and Technology and Department of Biotechnology. So what has been your experience in developing, initiating and then maintaining the partnership? If you can, let us know about it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, can you hear?
Yes, yes.
Wait, I need to unmute myself.
No, we can hear you.
But it's not my. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, right. So sure. But first of all, thank you very much for your nice introduction and for having me. I'm, in addition to what you said, I am from Belgium, which is a very small country. So I think Belgians, by definition, they think in network terms and broader and international. And following up to what Vikram said, that collaboration is essential, I would like to add the dimension that international collaboration on research and innovation is essential. I cannot think without, because I'm really born and raised in such an international dimension. I was also working on trade and the international dimension, and I'm very happy that I can kind of combine these two experiences. The knowledge does not stop at the borders. So first of all, definitely yes, collaboration. It's not easy, because scientists have for a long time, but that's more or less over now, used to work in isolation behind their desk at their lab, having ideas, thinking that they have the best idea of the world, and they keep stubbornly working on it. And then suddenly, when they match that idea with somebody else or with international, sorry to say, but that idea is not that original. Other people at the globe are looking at similar things. So it's extremely important to meet with your peers, and so definitely yes, collaboration, yes, international collaboration. You can't work in isolation, although you may have a tendency to do it. Also, my argument is you have to avoid duplication. Research these days has become very expensive. And I have seen certain things that in India, while I was here, that even in big IITs aiming at being developing, and honestly, I had the privilege to work in Europe and with the commissioner, which is the minister for science, and of course they always do the red carpet and they show the best things that countries have. But I'm saying, why are you trying to do that? We have it already in Europe. Collaborate, make it adjustable, repurpose it to the needs, make it affordable, do it together and learn from our mistakes, build upon our knowledge, and vice versa. I'm also saying to Europeans, look more at India, because it's vibrant. You have enormous good scientific brains. You are entrepreneurs. So there is matchmaking, there is meeting of expertise to be done. So there are plenty of reasons to say, as we can say, yes, collaboration. Certainly these days, international cooperation. Post-COVID, we have shown this. We also have to do that because we have the same challenges. When I came to India, the Indians say to me all the time, oh, or I was reading in the newspaper, this is specifically India. No, you are having the same problems, the same challenges, the same looking for solutions as we in a very much more industrial part of the world. We can gain from each other. But I have to admit that
I think we lost a bit, Tanya. Tanya, are you with us? Okay. That was a very interesting thing that she was talking about, but I think that she will join us back in a short while. Till then, let us continue our discussion. Nori, if I can come to you and ask you about your activities in international partnerships at Hiroshima University, if you can please let us know about that.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm Nori Miyokawa, Senior Research Administrator, Hiroshima University, and I'm very honored to be here, one of the panels today. Thank you very much. And then actually, I just wanted to tell you that Hiroshima University, like many research universities in Japan, has recently started developing international research and education partnership with many Indian institutions. And then given India's research capability as well as talented human resources and a huge market, I think I envision that such partnership will continue to grow substantially. So that's kind of definitely, I'm confident about that. But and then I'm going to talk about kind of some practices in which I have been involved at the institutional level since 7 years ago when I started working for Hiroshima University. And then actually, well, I have to say that kind of one of the biggest challenges in the internationalization of research activities at Hiroshima University is language, kind of the English, because English is such a kind of international language for research, business, everything. And then unfortunately, I mean the English proficiency of some research administrators, as well as much the bigger kind of the population of the administrative staff members, and maybe some researchers have a limited kind of English proficiency. which is very which makes things very difficult, because like developing research collaborations with foreign institutions, or working on the proposal applications for international research grants, and also like hosting international researchers on campus, and maybe the disseminating faculty members' research outcomes to the world. It all requires good English. So I think we need kind of improve our English kind of proficiency, but I think that is not right. It will take a long time. That's why kind of like myself and some other staff, small members who can kind of use kind of the English help those staff members. And then as I said, I mean as the introduction of myself, I mean I have been involved in like support for international conferences, because international conference is very important for the opportunities to facilitate international research activities. So I mean I have been involved in like not kind of actually organizing the conferences, but more like supporting some financial kind of support for the faculty members who organize a conference in Hiroshima, so that they can invite international collaborators, I mean the international research collaborators to come to Hiroshima and to have an interaction. And then unfortunately, because of this COVID-19, this doesn't really happen, but I think still we can promote this kind of collaboration, communication with the international counterpart, I mean, between our research university and researchers, and then the counterpart via this kind of virtual communication, which is very important. That's why we will continue to support international conferences or the symposia, I mean, the seminars, that kind of things. And then also international science communication is very important. Even like a Japanese science communication, I mean, we are not really, I mean, the Japanese university is not really good at that. So science communication, I mean, like explaining what our researchers are doing, I mean, the found to the audience, I mean, the audience of the general audience is very important. So we are now working on that. And another one, so I think other Japanese research administrators in other universities are not really involved in this one, but I think particularly at Hiroshima University, I, as a research administrator, has been involved in the operation of the English academic writing centers, because I mean the writing papers, I mean in English is very kind of a challenge for many researchers. Some of them are very good at that, but others are not really good at, particularly the graduate students. So that's why kind of the full international research collaboration partners, I think we have tried to kind of invest a lot of money to training for the English academic writing for the younger generations. Yeah. And then finally, I'd like to add another one. I mean, I have just joined a newly launched university-wide group to discuss regularly the university strategy for globalization. So I think this small group consists of select leaders engaged in the internationalization effort, the key administrative units, not only concerning research, but also education, outreach, including industry relations. I hope that this group's discussion will lead to amend the kind of we have a silo approaches, like a international office just dealing with international students, and like myself, I'm a research administration office supporting research only. But also we have some outreach activities which dealt with the other unit. So I think this small group of this strategy for the globalization is important. Yeah, that's from Hiroshima University.
Yeah, so if I can ask you a little more, is there any response from Indian researchers or students?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of I mean we have especially developed this Japan-India International Linkage Degree Program. I mean with a master's, a PhD student, like some IIT, I mean the institutions, and then that is a great kind of I mean we have heard very positive kind of feedback from Indian students, but also our students also have visited Indian institutions, I mean, at the graduate level. And then that kind of the collaboration, personal relationship would help us to further develop the international partnership, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to hear, Nori. Thank you. So I believe Tanya has joined back. Tanya, do you hear us?
I'm sorry, I kept speaking and then I hadn't realized that Vivek, I mean, I will be short. So summarize, definitely collaboration, definitely international collaboration, because you can't do it in isolation. We have to avoid duplication. Research is too expensive, and it allows us also to engage with the best researchers, with the best minds in the world, if you have that open mind. Ultimately, India collaborating with Europe, with the US, I mean, I'm open to that, it will increase your scientific excellence and capacity and mine. It is enriching. Citations of international publications have much more impact than of national publications. We have also to join forces because we have the same challenges. I know India is specific, but we also have we are in that same boat. COVID has shown that, climate change shows that, impact of so many things. So that's why we need to join forces. Also, if the researchers work bottom up together, that it can lead to, and it will lead to, market access, because you will design a product together, a technology or a service that will be marketable to begin with in one country, but from one country it can become exported to another country or vice versa. And also the researchers will work to that product or to that sort of technology and have in mind also the standards issue or the markability. Anyway, this is very much the way we do engage in research in Europe. I would call it, we aim at least, it's not easy, the very holistic way, where we bring the best institutes, the best researchers, always try to have industry, SME and NGOs in the same collaboration, so that we understand we don't do at any level research in isolation. So I am, yes, a big fan of collaboration and international collaboration. And the COVID has shown that we need more collaboration, but maybe more, but different. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. So before we lose you any further, Tanya, so I have another question. Tanya, from the Horizon 2020, I believe that you were a major architect in that project, and you know, a lot of fund flow has happened in that project. So what do you think, did Indian researchers you know, avail that opportunity? Did Indian researchers do good to apply or get projects under that? Or I mean, in general, what is your understanding about response from India to Horizon 2020?
Yeah, it's a bit complicated. Response is relatively good, but you haven't used all your potential. There is also a specific characteristic, but it's not only India. We have our program, which is open to the world, because we do believe so much in that international cooperation and in the possibilities to bring researchers from the whole world, the best ones, together to find a solution on the problem that we are setting. If India participates, it has to pay its own contribution. Then, therefore, we need to set up arrangements that the government, whether it's Department of Science and Technology, the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Earth Sciences, or various ones, do agree to fund that a successful Indian participant. And without going into detail, that is a complex aspect. When we go to Horizon 2020, which is now called Horizon Europe, and we, you know, it's a good product, I would say. It's well designed. There's a lot of brain behind it, and worked on. We present it to the scientific community in India. They will all be over enthusiastic. They will say, "Oh, I fit into that narrative. I want to do it. I have peers in the UK. I have been in France as a PhD. Let's network." But then, of course, the funding has to come from your government, because they don't have that funding. You lack funding, or they don't want to own fund because it's a risk, and you don't have the funds anyway. And the government of India says funding is not an issue. We have the funding. I believe it, because I read in the newspaper yesterday that all the departments have so much unspent money. So the funding in a way is there, but all rules do not, the way to allocate the funding, the matching of the way you allocate the funding and the way we allocate it is not very compatible. And we are very strict on, for example, we only fund when it's been evaluated by international peer review experts. We don't intervene with the experts. The experts say this is a good project, the budget that they have done, we trust this now. We don't renegotiate for the grant agreement. So we are bound by time, and India is not there yet. They like to interact with what they would fund, do a reassessment of the of the impact, of the cost that the researchers have budgeted, and so we lose a lot of time and a lot of impact. So, but despite that, in my time that I was here, the 4 years, we've done well. We've just in the process of assessing how well India did in our program, and we did good things together. We did very, very good things together, and it's difficult but worthwhile doing. But international cooperation is difficult by definition. It's a mindset, it's different cultures, it's different rules. You really have to be committed to do it. And those that have been successful, they say it's great. They make bonds for the rest of their life, and there's a lot of collateral collaboration that follows from it. So I am very keen on continue to promote cooperation between Europe and India. I'm speaking maybe a bit too long, but there's one more reason I want to share with you. The reason why I'm so keen on Europe and India, and it's not wholly empty statement, I'm saying we share the same values. And in doing research, that's very important. I mean, we're doing research, we need to do research in disruptive technologies, in artificial intelligence, where the respect for the human-centric approach, for data protection, also for genetically manipulated research and all that. It's very important. Ethics, research integrity, what we want to do with our research, and that's very reassuring for Europe, that India, two democracies. So that is a framework, an environment that is conducive to do more research. So we need maybe a government that is a bit more relaxed about these funding rules at international level. I'm not certain. I've looked at your new policy, and it's self-reliance very much. So we have to see how much budget there will be for international cooperation. And but you have to keep promoting it. It's like Coca-Cola, you know, it's a good product, but you have to keep making publicity, and we will certainly do that. So our doors are open, and we are keen to continue to work with India, because what we have achieved together has made a difference.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That's really encouraging to hear, and I think all our attendees who are research administrators are taking note of it, that there is a lot to do in both pre-award and post-award administration if we are, entering into this kind of a project where, the regulations, the conditions will be very strictly will have to be very strictly abided by. Yeah, that's very, very important. And thanks, Tanya, for that important note. So if I can come to Naresh now. So Naresh, you spoke very beautifully about the few, international collaborations that you did for IISER Pune. And so I just want to ask you if you can tell us more about the collaboration with Germany, and also like how early do you start? How early do you initiate the talks with the partner, and how does it all click?
So at least with Germany, or for that matter with any partner, I had inherited these partnerships to begin with, the three that I shared with you. But once you start the dialogue, at least if you have a point of contact over there, the first and foremost thing that we have to identify always is what are the goals in the short term, the low hanging fruit that we can easily achieve, and then slowly start building on that foundation for what is a long-term vision that we want to achieve through our partnership. So with Germany, because Göttingen was the first partner I interacted with, and at that time point I didn't had any experience with international partnerships and all. Most of the efforts for framing up the proposal and putting in the proposal was done by Göttingen. We had signed up and agreed to be the joint coordinator on that. My responsibilities were more towards coordinating the dialogue and the communication with the the consortium partners from Indian side, and they were Göttingen was coordinating the communication with the European partners on that project. However, attending those meetings and all, it dawned upon us that we need to have a dedicated international office, and we wanted to do that. However, again, with lack of prior experience and lack of information on where to go and how to start, through one of other meetings with completely different meeting that I was attending with German partners, I came to know about this DIAS program, which is run and coordinated by the DAAD and German Rector Conference, where it's a program to start on or development of innovative approaches in the higher education sector. And Leibniz University had made a proposal to DAAD HRC under this DIAS program to train internationalization efforts in different stakeholders. So when I came to know about this, they were calling applications for developing any kind of a program regarding internationalization. I approached them. We discussed that if I put in an application for setting up an international office at IISER Pune, how will that support? So with the DAAD, German Rector Conference, Leibniz University, and most of their other partners who had already well-established offices, international offices at their end, they quite well assured that if the proposal gets selected and I am invited for the training program, it's a year-long training where the institute will also have, the leadership will have to dedicate that I will be sort of be responsible on a long-term basis. It's not like just for taking part, participating in this training program and after that nothing happens on it. We sort of have to give our commitment that we will be seeing through the program, the proposal, and they will be tracking us and following up on with us with the milestones. So there were 3 different components: 12-day training period in Leibniz, followed by a week-long training program within the Indian partner within country, and then again the closing program at Leibniz. So that was quite helpful because there were a lot of other partners across the globe, almost from Africa, from South America, from Mexico, from India, Southeast Asia, and all. And they had sort of made small groups who worked together, and we will be as buddies, following up on each other. And if there are problems that or hurdles we are facing, how do we approach that and all. That was quite helpful in sort of putting the policies in place, defining the procedures, making the organizational structure for the office, and starting the international office at IISER Pune. And so this partnership with Germany and German universities has helped quite a lot. And then slowly the lessons learned from those have been applied to various other partners, and the story unfolds accordingly.
Thank you, Naresh. Yeah, that's very nice to hear. So Vikram, if I can come back to you. So like people like Naresh or Nori, they do this, partnerships, and they bring in the researchers there. But as a researcher, what do you feel? I mean, are there difficulties in international partnerships? If you have a project which involves, human subjects in multiple, maybe in India and some other country, or if you have to share data, what is your experience on that? Is it really difficult, or does it require a lot of attention from the research administrator to come in?
Yeah. So again, I think there are broadly two elements here. One is on the research collaboration itself, and the other is the management of that collaboration. I found the research collaboration, you need first to find a person who has, more or less similar interests or complementary interests in an area that you're working. Another very important element to that is there has to be a chemistry between the people involved. Without that, you can talk how much you want, but it will never move forward. So you need to have that personal touch and that mutual respect and understanding of what we are trying to do, and that sense of a shared goal. And if both people value each other, if one partner is looking at the other as a source of samples or data, it doesn't work. That's my feeling on it. It may go some way, but it won't go the whole way. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is from the management of the thing. Here, there are a lot of regulatory challenges we face in India. So, including exchange of samples, etc. It has to go through a central process. That is like a black box. You may get a reply, you may not get a reply. Then you chase. So there are hurdles there. So sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't work well. So if you talk to some people, they'll say, yeah, it's all right, it's a procedure. So just exchanging samples, exchanging things. I think this is beyond the scope of us, but at a government level, there should be a better system to facilitate these interactions. And I think Tanya kind of hinted at that. We put a lot of platitude into interactions, but actually where is the money actually there is not seen. It's all there, but it's difficult to really access, or there are some challenges there. So I think a greater facilitation is required at all levels, and I would say it has to start at the top.
Yeah. So if there is data sharing, if you have collaboration within India and compared to collaboration with an international scientist, like, is data sharing challenging there? Do you see any difference there?
I think in India, the data sharing issue is not a problem per se. It's only a question of your level of comfort and confidence with who you're working. And again, I said, if you don't have that chemistry and you don't have that common goal and a sense of complementarity, it's going to be a little challenging. But if once you've got the right people to interact with, I don't see a problem at all, to be honest with you.
Right. Thank you, Vikram. Yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah, so now I have a question for both Naresh and Nori. So this question is, what is the importance of research management internationalization to support international research? So I think we are asking more about, there are international partnerships in science, in research, but how about internationalization of research management? Any comment? Sorry, if I can ask you to go first.
Yes, I mean, yeah, of course, I mean, everybody is aware that, a lot of the new opportunities for the international research grant and everywhere. So I think research managers, administrators need to be knowledgeable about some kind of regulations and kind of differences between those grants and other things. So I think research managers and administrators need to be more knowledgeable. And also I think I understand that the research managers and administrators have been working on more likely domestic grants, but I think now international grants came into existence. And then I think basic kind of the ideas of the kind of I mean attitudes towards the researchers, and then kind of collegibility, that kind of things are kind of shared by the I mean the other countries' research administrators and managers. But I think because domestic research grants have a different regulation, that's why kind of that part was kind of separated, segment, I mean fragmented. But now, because I mean more and more research grants, I mean the research collaborations, activities internationally, so that's why kind of I think because the basic ideas, I mean, as a basic ethics and the kind of the approaches to the research support is very can be shared by the research administrators around the world. So that's why kind of I think the people we can kind of we can share kind of the training, I mean the opportunities for I mean research administrators, managers, I mean internationally as well. I mean maybe domestic regulation is a different, but I think we need to understand, I mean the grasp and then have a knowledge about the kind of the internationally shared common regulations and approaches, ethics, that kind of things. Did I answer you?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Naresh?
Nori. So I agree with Nori that the exposure or the training for the research administrators and managers is critical. It's very critical, because to understand the culture, to understand the goals and the mindset on the both sides of the border is important. And for that, the mobility of the research administrators and managers bilaterally is required. And this I can also say more convincingly because of the training that I have had under the Erasmus Plus programs. So Erasmus Plus Key Action 107 programs, they have a staff training mobility built into it. So with Göttingen, with Glasgow, I have had the opportunity to visit them, and vice versa. The team or the international staff from their international relations office have visited ISA Pune and spent almost a week long interacting with the staff over here, with the administrators, interacting with our students, interacting with the faculty members. And these week-long stays have provided opportunities to really understand, let's say even in the grants management. So visiting over there, interacting with their accounts and the grants management office staff over there provides an insight into how the decision making happens over there, what regulations they have to follow. And in jointly co-funded collaborative grants, what kind of expectations and the rules and regulations need to be followed by us as the co-partner onto it, right? So what reports have to be provided, what are the deadlines, and as Tanya mentioned, the deadlines by EU are real deadlines, they are non-negotiable, and you following those, you submitting those reports have a bearance on your future fundings as well. If you are unable to meet the deadlines or unable to submit those reports, your future funding opportunities and the chances to get those funding lowers a little bit, because it affects your ratings onto those. So similarly, having those kind of benchmarks to take home and try to implement, whether it is for our own domestic grants, but at least the work culture within the office can be improvised. And that brings in that global benchmarks onto your own home staff, and sharing of those knowledges, the best practices increases the quality control, the quality assurance at home as well, and which increases the further chances of future collaborations and also promotes that kind of interaction between them. The future potential partners can have that kind of trust that you already have experience with international funding, which means you are at some place with some benchmarks where they can trust you, they can trust your processes, and that increases the future collaboration potential. So that's how experience and the mobilities for the international, the training for the international relations office staff or the grants management staff, or even for that matter accounts, even though the policies for the accounting and everything is very domestic oriented, but having that understanding of what your partners need brings in that mindfulness in the working culture. When your partners request some kind of reports or some kind of accountability towards the funds that has been shared, and that mindfulness puts or contributes to the strong communication between both the partners addressing and meeting the goals over there, and that strengthens the partnership overall. So internationalization at home is equally important, and that comes through these kind of trainings and staff exchanges between the partners. So that's a unequivocally agreed upon that this is required. It is having these kind of opportunities are well needed.
Of course, agree with you, Naresh. And I just want to, yeah, Nori, please, if you want to.
I totally agree with the Naresh said. I mean, like staff exchange, international staff exchange is so important. And I think maybe so far universities have just paid attention to the student mobility of the researchers and then the students maybe, but I think not the staff members. But staff members is such a huge, important part of the universities and research institutions. So that's why kind of the international student staff exchanges, maybe, actual, but maybe virtual, but I think both are very important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I understand. And I think most of us will agree to that. Just want to, ask our attendees. I don't see many questions in the question box. So we have only a little time left on this panel discussions. If you have any question, please type in there. I can pass on your questions to our distinguished panelists. And with this, let me go to the next topic, which is, agreements. When you do this partnership, there has to be a signed agreement, a written down, protocol of how you, follow this partnership, how you do everything written down in that partnership. So to Naresh and Nori, let me ask you, how easy or difficult do you find these agreements to make when it is an international partner? I will also come to Tanya with this question. I know, Tanya, with your legal expertise, if you can tell us a little bit more on this, also a little bit more on this agreement, developing the agreement and signing part as well. So first, let me hear from Naresh and Nori.
So in my experience, I believe that it is both easy as well as difficult. The more as a memorandum of understanding where the intent is to collaborate, which are non-legally binding and you are not involving the financial terms into it, those are still a little bit easier because those are more for exploration and finding what potential collaborations can work out. However, when it comes to specific agreements or the program agreements where finances are involved, then the legal bindings, the IP clauses, and those come into picture. And it is always better to negotiate these beforehand, at least more transparently, so that the clauses are not ambiguous. They are not up for debate later on down when the projects are being worked upon down the line. So that is where the difficulty in the beginning comes in. And obviously, every party wants to safeguard their interest into it. So the negotiation time can be sometime extended. And if it's a already well established partnership and people have been working for long together, there it would be much more easily because they have the understanding with each other. They already have that trust factor in place. So it can be both easy as well as difficult depending upon what each party requires out of it and how they see that partnership going in which direction.
Thank you, Naresh. Nori?
As I said before, I mean, like language is an issue, and for many Japanese universities, and then actually the agreement, the writing agreements, I mean, they're gonna agree with the agreement in English is kind of very kind of big challenge. And then also the culture is different. I mean, the regulations and everything. So that's why I think, as Naresh just said, I mean, we just agree like a staff exchange, or I mean like a staff kind of appointment, kind of like more like not just a short kind of the 1 or 2 days, but like some weeks or a month, kind of like having as an international, I mean the staff and the counterparts here. I mean in your institutions, kind of from the US, India, Europe, would be kind of help us. I mean the helpful for us. I mean to understand kind of to make a develop the agreement. So I think in that sense too, I think more collaboration between the research manager and administrator beyond the borders is very important, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Nori. Tanya, do we have you?
Yes. I can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's better that I'm not having the camera on, so for the net. But if you had it on, then you would have seen that I have been agreeing a lot with what Naresh was saying, Vikram and all that. Just on that previous question, like maybe a concluding suggestion is that in big institutions like Pune's and all that, to having a contact point, an international office or international nodal point is important to gather that information and to facilitate. No, on the question of having a science and technology cooperation agreement between two countries of a memorandum of understanding, no, it's better to have one than not to have one. But these days I find, well, we have to make a distinction, not because I'm a lawyer, between for an S&T agreement and a memorandum of understanding. I find that there are too many memoranda of understanding. They're proliferating and they are an empty shell. But we want, when our rectors meet and when the ministers come, they have to sign. Japan signed 10. Next time, China has to do more. We also have to do deliverable signing for signing. That happens a lot. But so also one has to realize that an S&T agreement or a memorandum of understanding is a political illustration of your willingness to do something. The works comes afterwards. There is no funding attached to it. So, or almost not. I don't know any bilateral agreement there that also pledges a yearly amount of funds where you create a common pot and where you can do things. So this the classical S&T agreement is more a policy forum, but it is good to have. I mean, I'm only speaking at the level of the European Union and India, or the European Union, Brazil, Russia, China, because it forces you to do a stock taking and to assess, and what is it worth engaging on? What have we done? What are the lessons learned? But also, actually not later than yesterday, in assessing the cooperation with India, I had a look at our S&T agreement, which was concluded 20 years ago and was renewed. What we said 20 years ago is so much, it's still so relevant. And what I see is we should all look and read these agreements more often, because sometimes we talk next to each other and what we want is there. There is, for example, in the S&T agreement between Europe and India, a clause that says you have to do, we need to fund each according to our rules. That is what we're doing. But as Naresh said, that is not, you have different rules than mine. So the difficulty is you have to elaborate it in an implementing arrangement, and we've never done that. So let's do that, and let's talk to the bottom and see how we can, when you or the scientific community finds a project where it's worth investing, that we are ready with guidelines and all that. So yes, it's good to have an S&T agreement. It's an illustration of your political commitment. It's a forum where at highest level we can evaluate what we have done, where we can agree and instruct or administrations to do more, to do differently. But it's not magic. there's no funding attached to it. And again, you always need somebody behind it who makes it lively, who believes in that partnership, and who says, we have it, we need to keep it alive, we need to implement it, we need to roll it out. And it's a hook. And it's better to have that hook than not to have that hook, but not for everything, because it's also not good policy that you have a memorandum on this and that. Modi has been there, president has been there, they sign and they stay in the shelf. So we have to go to a middle way, but definitely between Europe and India, it's only justified we have one. And but we have to look at it a bit more and read and implement in the spirit of that agreement, and we will be much further than we are today. We have also to avoid, of course, that it becomes static. So things change. The way you conduct the role of IPR is done 20 years ago compared to now. And then, of course, people say, oh, we're not going to go in a renewal because that would require an amendment. We have to, and all that. So you have to balance with whom and how and when you have an agreement or not. But I'm in favor of having one, more for political policy reasons than legal reasons.
Thank you, Tanya. That's really actually captures everything around the agreements. Yeah. So why do you have it? How do you follow it later on? Do you open it later on or keep it like in a closed file? So we have addressed everything in what Tanya has covered. So if I can come back to Naresh and Nori a little bit more on, we just spoke about the exchange, the research administrators can have their eyes and ears open about how the research administrators in other countries are working, and there may be some exchange of ideas and all. But what do you think will be best link to develop these collaborations between the research managers from India to any other countries? I mean, is there a formula? Is there a solution, ready-made solution to it?
There is no formula per se. And I think for any kind of a partnership, again, the research administrators or managers, they are more like facilitators. They can enable, they can make the journey a little bit smoother, but the key wheels for the partnership to keep rolling and moving forward are the PIs, the research faculty, the community, the students over there. So I believe, yes, keeping ourselves abreast of the policies, keeping ourselves abreast of or understanding the culture of our partners and all, the research administrator keeping themselves well informed about the funding opportunities and others, they can make the journey a little bit easier. But ultimately the hard work and all the efforts that are made and put in for the sustainability and the partnership to develop is by the interested party, the faculty members, by the students over there. So there is no one glove fit all. Somewhere maybe the research managers will initiate some kind of a dialogue and it may bloom into a full-blown partnership. Somewhere we may just be nurturing and watering whatever was pre-existing between the faculty members, and that comes out as a fruit-bearing tree that yes, this partnership is very strategic for the growth of the institute. So I think both go hand in hand, but we cannot ignore that research administrators do bring in value addition to the whole effort, to the whole ecosystem of international partnerships, or for that matter, any kind of a partnership which helps in the growth of the institute, in the research collaborations, and bringing things together as one single product out of it.
Thank you, Naresh. Nori, your comments?
Yeah, I agree that there is no single kind of a formula for that kind of the collaboration between the research managers. I mean, beyond the borders. But I think I would say maybe like just start with the kind of like universities with a very strong connection. I mean, the already existing the research kind of collaboration education. Then kind of like and then try to kind of involve the research managers and administrators in that kind of the collaboration, not only the research, but I think maybe education, anything. I mean, like, because I mean that if that university has a very strong connection with your own university, then maybe I think that kind of involvement would be easier. Then we can expand that. That will be one of the kind of the way. And then in addition to that, and because I'm now trying, preparing for the conference, international conference of the one organization called IRMS. Do you know, have you ever heard of IRMS? IRMS stands for the International Network of Research Management Societies. And it's created, it was created 20 years ago. And then working global, the global congress, World Congress is being held. And then IRMS has now 20 organizations, associations, professional associations, and then mainly America, Europe, Africa, and only 2 from Asia, Japan and China. And then I hope that India be the kind of the joining, IRMI join this kind of, because this is a great opportunities or the venue where the people can share the good practices and create the networking. And then maybe that is a great opportunity. And then, as I said, I have been working on the preparation of IRMS 2020. Actually, 2020 was postponed to the May 2021, and in the 4th month to go. And then, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, it went to it has been decided that it will go only virtually. But still, please think about attending that conference, and then kind of the listen to the good practices of other countries, and then to know the other people. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nori. Thank you, Nori. Actually, we were so we have the slide on IRMS. Yes, so for the attendees, I think this is really a good opportunity. The conference being a virtual one, it's not required to spend time in traveling, though we would love to go to Hiroshima and meet you personally, but this is an excellent opportunity to join the conference, IRMS 2021. And I'm sure, absolutely sure, that there will be a lot of discussions and we will learn from each other. There will be research administrators from other countries who will talk, and we will learn about the culture and practices of every other place there. Thank you a lot, Nori. I understand you are working a lot towards making this conference a successful one.
Right, and then actually the change from the face-to-face to online mode has taken us some time to revise the registration structure, including fees and the program provision. That's why, actually, but that's still, the revised registration system will be launched in a few weeks, a couple of weeks. So I think, thank you very much, and stay tuned on our website, IRMS 2021, and thank you very much for your patience.
Thanks, Nori, thanks. So Tanya, any last comments for our participants here, how to develop good collaborations for the Indian researchers?
Stay tuned. To say it with the words of the time. You have to be all the time connected, open your ears for opportunities, grab them, and it's very worth engaging into research as such, and definitely adding that additional dimension, international, and we are there to help if you need to be further networked into the European research and innovation community. So thank you very much for offering that opportunity.
Thank you, Tanya. Thanks a lot for being with us today and sharing your thoughts. Thanks to all our panelists, Vikram, for sharing your experience as a researcher, Naresh and Nori for bringing us, your entire experience in working in international field in collaborations, and Tanya, of course. Oh, Tanya, we see you now.
Yes, that's otherwise I would be too virtual. So I thought I'd give it a try just for the last minute. I was with you all the time, for sure. No, I really enjoyed it. It helped. There was a lot of meeting of the minds, huh? We could see that. So maybe next time we should have such an with somebody who says never international cooperation again. Why not?
Yeah, it will be difficult to find one.
Yeah, exactly. It can be, because it's complex, but that makes life so much more interesting. So really, our doors are open. And thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I hope our audience have enjoyed the session. Thank you so much, panelists, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.